Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back to today's DAF Hayemi KIDDUSHIN DAF Chaf. We actually got up to the 14th line off the top of the Amid, right at the two dots. Tanu Rabbanon. Here comes a brisa. In Begapa Yovoy, Begapa Yetzi. This is a pasuk at the beginning of Parshas Mishpatim. What does that mean? We have two ways to explain. Number one, Begufay Nichnas. He came in with himself, with his body. Begufay Yetzi. That's how he leaves. So the way the Eved came in, that's how he goes out. What does that mean? We'll see in a minute. Rabbi Yehuda ben Yaakov Omer. I have another explanation. He holds that the pasuk meant like this: Yechidi nichnas. He came in single by himself. Yechidi yetze. That's how he leaves. And that's how he goes free. Now, what does this mean? My begufay nichnas, begufay yetze. What does Tanakama mean? He came in with himself, with his guf, with his body. That's how he leaves his owner. Amar Rava Leimar. It's coming to teach you. You see, an Eved Kenani, here we're speaking about an Eved Ivri, a Jewish slave, but an Eved Kenani, a non-Jewish slave, will achieve freedom, who can leave if his master injures him. It's called Rasha Yevarim, tips of his Yevarim, fingers, etc. That's a vehicle for release. That's specific to an Eved Kenani, but not an Eved Ivri or an Amah Ivriya. They don't have that form of departure. He doesn't leave if he's injured, just like an Eved Kenani would leave. He doesn't. So the pasuk's telling you, whatever he has, whatever guf he has, I mean, the owner has to compensate him for that injury. He has to pay him for it. He's a victim of his injury. He has to pay him, but he doesn't leave automatically. He does not gain freedom upon that experience. So basically, what the pasuk is saying is that the guf that he brought in, that's how he takes out, meaning in whichever state that guf is in. He doesn't achieve early freedom due to injury. Amalei Abaye, why do we need a pasuk for this? We already know this from a different pasuk. Hahu, that halacha, that Rashi Ivarim is not a reason for release. That's the other pasuk. She doesn't leave. The Amma is like the Eved. They don't gain freedom like the Avadim. Rashi Ivarim don't trigger freedom. Why another pasuk for the same thing? Well, imi hasam, only from that pasuk Havamim I would say Nesiv leidmei einev nipuk. What the pasuk means is that in contrast to an Eved Kenani who was injured, who now just goes free without compensation. Freedom is his compensation, so to speak. The Eved, the Amma is different. But the Eved Ivri or the Amma Ivriya, they get two things. They're set free, plus they receive payment, compensation. Maybe that's what the pasuk is saying. But of course they go free. Kamashmon comes the pasuk here and says no. This means that freedom only applies to an Eved Kenani, not an Eved Ivri or an Amma Ivriya. Begufa Yavoy, Begufa Yetze. That's a Tanakam. Rabbi Yehuda ben Yaakov Omer. The pasuk means Yechidi Nichnas, Yechidi Yetze. He came in by himself. That's how he leaves. What does that mean? My Yechidi Yetze. Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak Chachik Amar. The pasuk means like this. We know that a master can pair up his Eved, even his Eved Ivri, can pair him up with a Shifcha Kananis for the sake of generating offspring who now belong to the master. But there are specific guidelines. There is a precondition. That's what the pasuk is teaching us right here. You know when you can do that to the Eved? Yesh isha ubanim. If he's already a married man, he has a wife or kids. Rabbi Moishele Shifcha Kananis. In this case, yep, he's eligible for the Shifcha Kananis. But if he's not a married man, then Ein Rabbi Moishele Shifcha Kananis. then his master cannot do that to him. And some of Farshim learn that it's not enough that he's married, he has to have a family. So that's his real family, the Isha Ubana, but that enables him to receive the Shivcha Knanis. It basically obligates him to go along with his master and paired up with the Shivcha Knanis for the sake of generating offspring. Begufay nichnas, begapay nichnas. He came in by himself, meaning he has no association, he has no family. He's single. In that case, he leaves in the same state. Basically, it means you can't pair him up with the Shivcha Knanis while he's working for you. Okay, so the pasuk in Begapa Yavik, Begapa Yetzi has two meanings. According to Tanakama, we'll teach you that injuries don't trigger his freedom. And according to Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, that Shivcha Knanis is only provided to an Eved who is already married, who has a family. Continues the Gemara. Tanu Rabbanan, we have learned in a Braisa. This relates to the Mishnah back on Daf Yudalet, which taught us that one of the ways that an Eved goes free is called Giroin Kesef. Basically, you split up the purchase price and prorate it per year, in which case the Eved can refund, the master can repay him for unworked years, for the balance of the years, for whatever is outstanding, whatever was not yet worked. So say he sold him for $600. He bought him for $600 for a 6-year service, contract. He was meant to work for 6 years. He's done 3 and he has 3 remaining. The Eved, if he comes up with $300, he can bail himself out. Tanu Rabbanan. Nimkar b'mana. Suppose he was sold for a mana, which is 100 zuz. Okay, let's call it $100 just for clarity's sake. V'yishpiach, and then midway through his term, he increased in value, whether it's because the market value went up or because he became stronger, more husky, more valuable in terms of his own personal entity. So for whatever reason, he went up in price. Now he's up to 200. So how do you reckon this arrangement? How do you make this giroin kesef? How do you reckon the amount of the bailout? How do we know that we prorate based on the original sale price? It's based on the kesef paid at the time of sale. So although he's now worth more, this system is based on the original price, which is a lower amount. What about Nimkar b'mosai? He was sold for 200. Now he went down in value. He's only worth 100. How do we know that? We go down to the local value, to the current value, which is 100. So we make our arrangement based on the current value. It's all about how many years remaining now, and it's prorated based on the current value, not related to its purchase price. So basically, he always ends up gaining. It's to his benefit. Whatever is cheaper, we prorate it based on either purchase price or current value, whichever one is lower. Perhaps this leniency only applies to an Eved sold to a guy. Why? Since we find that the Torah empowers this Eved, gives him extra rights, extra privileges, that he can be bailed out even by way of his relatives, which is something unique to this type of Eved. And therefore, Yadai al Tachtoina. So we give the owner the lower, the Yadai Tachtoina, meaning he's at a disadvantage. The Eved has the upper hand. Right? Since he has that advantage, so apparently the Torah is vying for him, so to speak, and we give him that advantage as well. We make it easier for him to leave the guy's possession. lest he be influenced by the environment, etc. Perhaps that would be the reason. But in any case, the halacha is the halacha that the Torah looks after him, gives him the extra power. Likewise, in terms of the system of Giro and Kesef, we look at the lower amount. But Nimka li Yisrael Minolim. How do you know that the same concept will apply to an Evet sold to Yisrael? Who says we prorated based on the lower amount? Amaleimar, Sacher, Gzera Shava. We have that famous Gzera Shava. It says the word Sacher by Nimkar li Yisrael. It says Sacher by Nimkar li Evet Kechav. We connect the two. Bottom line is, it's always to the benefit of the Eved. We look at the lower value, whether it's the purchase price or the local price, current price, whatever is less, that amount is used to prorate his bailout amount. Amr Abaye declares, Hareini kiven azai b'shukei Tveria. I have right now a state of clarity like Ben Azai, who was exceedingly sharp. He was charev v'darshan, Rashi says, and he would announce. He lived in Tveria. He would announce, Kol chachmei Yisrael lefanai kiklipas Hashum. I have such clarity, and come ask me anything. So Abaye got up one day and says, today I achieved the same clarity as Ben Azai. You can, ask me anything. I'm ready for anything today. So this Chacham approaches Abaye with a question. Look, we speak about bailing out the Eved and using the old price, the current price. Michti, Hanikroi, Ika lemedushin lekula, v'Ika lemedushin lechumra. We can take the same psukkah. The psukkah we had before, Mikesef Miknase, which says, look after the sale price, the lower sale price. And Kifishanov tells you, look at the current price based on the lower value. So basically, you can take the same psukim and apply it lekula, as we did, v'ikra lemidrashina lechumra. You can twist it around as well. You can make it more difficult for him. You can say it like this, Mikazeh Miknaseh, which indicates that you follow the purchase price. Well, that's when purchase price was higher than now. Right? And the other pasuk, Kifishanav, you look at the current value, that's perhaps speaking when his value went up. So basically, you can go l'chumra, make it more difficult for him. Who says to look at it your way? Always the lower amount. Because of Meknasa, look at the sale price when it's lower than now. Kfishana, look at the current price when it's lower than before. Perhaps the other way. You always go with the chumra, with the higher price, the higher value. Right? So my chazis, what led you to interpret the psukim this way instead of the other way? My chazis. The darshinu lekula, who says you're meant to generate a leniency and make it easier for the Eved? Nidushin lechumra, make it more difficult, make him pay out more. You can't suggest as such. We find that the Torah looked to protect the Eved Ivri, to make it easier for him, to assist him. Where do we find that? The Sanya. The Torah speaks about the Eved enjoying the owner's company. He's having it good with you because you take care of him very well. You meant to look after him. You're responsible for his welfare. To share your food, share your drink. You can't sit down to a meal with clean flour, refined flour, bread made of pasnikia, and give him the, bread made of unrefined flour. You can't do that. He's entitled to the same standards as you. Give him the fresh wine, you take the old wine. No. You sleep on a comfortable mattress and materials. You put him on the hay. Can't do that. We learn from here. Whenever a person purchases an Eved Ivri, it's as though he has acquired a master over himself. Basically, you have to take care of the Eved, just like yourself. So, the fact that the Torah was looking after the welfare of the Eved, that tells us something about the fact that the Torah is, vying for him. And when it comes to prorating his bailout plan, it's based on a lower value. Make it easier for him. Well, says the Gemara, perhaps two things are unrelated. There's one thing regarding his experience with you. You have to make it, a rather pleasant, humane experience. Feed him. He shouldn't be in distress. But when it comes to bailing him out, look, after all, he's your Eved. When it comes to being paid to the Eved, perhaps nachmer alei. Let's make it even more make it difficult for him. Why? He deserves it. Why did he even become an Eved? Listen to this. The Sanya. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina Omer. Boy urei. Come have a close look. Kama kasha avoka shel shvius. How difficult, how consequential is even dabbling with a light isser of shvius. Avak is like dust, like avak lashon hara, a rather, lighter violation of shvius. For instance, commercializing shvius produce, which Rashi says isn't even a lav. We learn it from an asay. Torah says it's meant to eat it and consume it properly, and not commercialize it. Okay, but a person does wheel and deal with perish shvius. Look what happens to him. Look how terrible. Look at the consequence. Kam makosha avoka shel shvius. Adam noisev and noisim perish shvius. If one deals with perish shvius, which he's not meant to do, look what happens to him. L'soif meicheres metatlav. He'll end up selling his belongings. Shenemar shnasa yevel azois to shu ishal chazasoi. We have one pasuk alluding to Yovel. V'samechlei v'chi simkeru mimker lamitecha okanai miyad amisecha davar nikrim miyad v'yad. So the pasuk speaks about Yovel, and then it continues v'chi simkeru. And Rashi learns it's meant to connect the two. If you purchase and you sell things which I don't allow you to, Yovel and Shemitah product, what's the result? He's going to have to sell his. He's going to lose his money. He's going to have to sell his belongings out of desperation. His items, his possessions, his belongings. Suppose, this happens to him. He's going through a hard time financially, but he's not paying attention. He's not cognizant of that connection. He doesn't make the link that it's happening to him because of what he did. So Hashem has to push him further. L'soif meicheres sodois. He'll end up selling his fields. Shenemar. Further down on the pasuk we have ki amacha chicha. If your brother becomes destitute, umacham achuzas, he'll sell his estate. Lo bas liyadei. Suppose he didn't get a handle on himself. He's still ignoring all these difficulties, and he's not doing teshuvah. Ad shemeicheres beis, he'll end up selling his house. The pasuk speaks about a fellow selling his house. Now, we haven't really concluded the brisa, but ultimately, this fellow, if he doesn't get himself back on track, he'll end up selling himself as an Eved. That's how we got into this whole discussion. So perhaps he deserves staying there for a while. Don't make it easier for him to leave. We'll get to that in a minute. But bottom line is, even a small, relatively, lighter avera can bring a person to terrible consequences. It can lead to his whole chain of events where he has to sell off his properties, his house. At that first step where he had to sell his metatlan, the brisa says, Lo hirgish. He didn't feel, he didn't pay attention, he didn't put his heart to it. And then what happens? He sells his field, he sells his house. But then the brisa uses different language. The brisa says, well, if he's not paying attention, he doesn't care, he goes further. And Hashem pushes him even further. Why did we change the expression from Lo Hirgish to Lo Bas Liyadei? Rashi explains, Lo Hirgish sounds like, we're hoping that he will, open his eyes. But if he didn't, okay, this is what happens. Lo Bas Liyadei sounds like more of an absolute prediction. Chances are he won't pay attention. Why? Who says? Answers the Gemara. A profound lesson in the human condition. If a person chas v'chalila violates an avera and repeats it, it becomes habitualized. Hutrulai. It becomes mutter to him. Really? How does it become mutter? Hutrulai sakadaitach. Ela nasis like yater. In his eyes, it became kosher. It became mutter. Because it became a habit. He doesn't even pay attention. It's part and parcel of his lifestyle. And that's what the Bryce is hinting to us. Be careful. At that first stage, initially, when he wasn't really entrenched into this whole, then in effect it's easier for him to extract himself. But once he goes further and further into this pit, it's much more difficult to get out. In any case, the Bryce continues. He didn't stop there. Lo bas liyadei ashemecher es bitay. Es bitay, yeah. Next point is selling his daughter as a slave. Shenam rachim kar ish es bitay le'ama. Now the question is, v'afakav de bitay lo ksiva b'haninyana. The Gemara is asking another kasha on this Bryce. It was sort of excerpting the Bryce and asking questions in the middle. There's no discussion of selling his daughter at this point. Actually, the Psukim go on to ribis. A person has to borrow and pay interest. So why did the Bryce go straight from selling his house to selling his daughter? Hakamashmon, the Bryce here is teaching us that Tana is explaining to us an interesting thing. When a person is chas v'shalom in a state of destitution, he's financially strapped and at a loss of how to deal with it. So he's going to sell off his assets and stuff, right? But if he's left with a choice, sell his daughter or borrow with interest, he should do the former and not the latter. As striking as it may sound, but at least now he has a chance of reestablishing himself financially. Nizbin inish brate, one should rather sell his daughter as a slave and get her back in a couple of years, rather than borrowing with interest. My time of why? Barte megarav anafki. Look, his daughter as a servant, as a slave. As terrible as it sounds, but there's an end in sight. It's a limited, time thing. The fact is, when she's done her term, she's out. Or if she gets lucky, you can bail her out midway. Mig'arav anafka. It sort of gets deducted as she goes along. So the situation improves, ultimately, until he's back on track. But borrowing with ribis, that can just dig him into a deep hole. Ribis is just something which is just a constantly exacerbating situation because it's constantly multiplying and increasing. So rather do that than ribis. But ultimately, if this fellow came to this point, sold off everything, including his family member, but he's still on the wrong track, ad shalayve beribis. So he gets to the point that, he'll have to borrow with ribis. Speaks about not taking ribis, so that's the point. This person will be forced to borrow with ribis, I guess, from a non-Jew. If he's not paying attention, he'll have to sell himself. And perhaps not even to a Jewish owner, to a ger. He might get to the point that he has to sell himself to a ger toishav. Lo ger tzedek, a proper ger. Ger toishav. Ger toishav is a non-Jew, keeps some of the mitzvahs b'nei noyach and avodah zarah, etc. Shnemar ger toishav. The pasuk continues, mishpachas ger. What is that? He might even revert to the family, the Goyish family, the family of the ger. In his desperation, he might have to sell himself to a Goyish family. Because when the pasuk continues with the words la'eker, What does that mean? The actual Avodah Zarah. And it's called La'ikar, Taisa says, because ultimately Avodah Zarah will be uprooted and destroyed. So this is a big, terrible calamity. He has to go and sell himself to serve the Avodah Zarah, Rashi says, to be a water carrier, to chop wood for the Avodah Zarah. So bottom line is, this was the Yahumar Rabbanon, the Chacham who asked Abaye, why, when it comes to arranging for a bailout, we look at the lowest price, whether it was the sale price or the current price, we go with the lowest number. Why don't you go to Chumrah? So he says, look, we find that the Torah looks after the Eved. He has to be treated well. Yeah, that's in terms of his experience during his, when he has to be looked after by his owner, but in terms of the duration, in terms of facilitating his release, who says? Who says that's good for him? The Torah actually wants him to get that punishment, as we see that it's not for nothing that it happened. Amar Leisa, he responded. So Abaye responded, no, Hasam Ahadre Kra. You're right, even though he's at this point that he has to sell himself to Avodah Zarah, but after all, the Torah has pity on him and put him back on track, brought him back into the fold, so to speak. Yeah, he meant to look after him. The Tani Dvei Rabbi Yishmael. Fine. Let's say this fellow, out of desperation, went and is now, servicing the Avodah Zarah. Kaimer typically means a priest, but not literally. It means that, he's serving the Avodah Zarah. Eima, perhaps I'll say, well, okay, he's far gone. Leave him alone. Litchi even achar hanoifel. It's an expression. Throw the stone over the fellow who tripped, who fell. Basically, just leave him there. No. Talmud Lemer, the pasuk says, Achar nimkar geula tia loy echod me'echa v'yigalenu. The Torah instructs us to look after him. Go try to get him out. We know why it happened. It's his fault, fine, but look, he's in there already. He's experienced it. He had his kapara. Try to get him out. So we see that even in that state, the Torah looks after him. So it makes sense that we will analyze the psukim in that fashion, meaning in a manner which makes it easier to extract him and bail him out. No, says the Gemara. No, perhaps the Torah tells you to try to bail him out so that he doesn't get assimilated with the Goyim. But let's say he can afford to pay properly, in terms of establishing his bailout, amount. Let's perhaps come down hard on him. So they're able to come up with the money. Let's require it. Right, as we just said before. The whole point is his chet, his avera. That's why he's experiencing it. Let's make it difficult for him. Amar of Nachmar Yitzchak. Here's the answer. Do you want to know why we make it easy for him? Why we prorate based on the lowest value amount? Trei kroi ksivi. It's based on psukim. There are two psukim. First pasuk, ksiv im oid rabbeis b'shanim. Look, if there are many years left on his balance sheet, you have to pay a lot to get him out. Uksiv bimat nisha b'shanim. But if there are a few years, then it's a much lesser amount. Now, it sounds like we're speaking about large numbers and small numbers. Well, we all know that an Evet Ivri is sold for a set amount of years, 6 years. V'chiyesh shanim rubois, v'chiyesh shanim mu'atais. Since when do we have, lots of years and less years? It's all a standard 6-year term. Ella means like this. Exactly as we said. How do we evaluate his value? How do we establish the bailout procedure? Ella means Rabba Kaspi. His value went up since he was sold. Mikasa Mikmasa. We go back to the original sale amount. That's the amount used for the formula, for the bailout formula. Nismat Kaspi. On the other hand, if his value went down since then, Kivishana, we look at the current amount. Whatever his value is currently, we take the remaining years and we prorate it accordingly. So Mikasa Im Oid Rabbis Bashanim. tells you that if his price went up, rabbis. And the other pasuk, ma'at, means if his price went down. Well, says the Gemara, who says we're speaking about fluctuating values? Maybe the pasuk is simply saying like this. It all depends how many years are left on his balance sheet. He was sold for 6 years, right? If he worked 2, or partially dalat and 4 remaining, they say dalat. Because we'll give him, 4 parts, basically. Whatever he sold for, we split into 6, and 4 of those 6 have to be paid back. Avad dalda pashlo tarti, but if he worked for 4 and he still has 2 years left, and he said tarti kivishana, we give him 2 years worth of payment. That's the bailout amount. Who says we're speaking about fluctuating values? It's just a question of dividing the years. In Cain, if it were so that it's simply giving us the basic formula, the pasuk would say there are many years on his balance sheet. Less years. What's the base about? My bishanim. Many years or less years? What's Rabbi's bishanim? Oh, it's coming for this halacha. Value fluctuation. Nisra b'kaspe bishanim. If his value went up throughout those years, now we go back to the original sale price. The lower amount is what's going to provide that formula. But if his value went down throughout the years, we look at the current value. I'm impressed. Interpreted these psukim like it was given at Har Sinai. Beautiful. This is the correct, accurate pshat, and it answers all our questions. Bottom line, an eved can be bailed out. So basically we divide the years by the sale price and prorate it per the years that he worked. That's deducted, and the rest is meant to be refunded to the owner for releasing the eved. What if there was a fluctuation in value? It's all about the lower amount, sale price, or current value. Why? We have 2 psukim. Okay. I have a question. Eved ivri hanim kal eved kichavim. Nigal lechatzoin? Oy einoi nigal lechatzoin. Let's say an eved ivri was sold to a guy. Can he be bailed out lechatzoin? So let's say the balance is $100 and he only has $50. Can he give that to the owner and cut short his stay? So he's meant to work for another couple of years. I came up with, $50. I'll give it to you now, and refund me that amount of years. Nigal chatzon? Oh, ain't a nigal chatzon, or perhaps not. You want to bail yourself out? Full redemption, a full geula. Otherwise, nothing. Geula asa mistei achuza gomar. Perhaps we connect through a sort of exera shava. Taisa says it's not really exera shava, but we derive from stei achuza, which is a case where a fellow sold his field, his estate. He sold it, and he wants to go and take it back. So just like over there, we say it doesn't work. Over there, you can't do it halfway. Rashi says. Pasuk says, you have to bail the entire thing out at once. It's just like geulasai there means full. Likewise, in our case, the eved can't do a halfway bailout. Or perhaps, when do we say a half geula doesn't work? That's only if it helps him, if it's to his benefit. So when do we allow the halfway redemption to work? When it's to his benefit. But not if it's to his detriment. So basically the question is, a half geula by an eved ivri, does it work or not? Shall we say no? We connect it to stei achuza. It doesn't work there, it doesn't work here. Or shall we say, depends. If it's to his benefit, as we're going to see in a minute, the Gemara will explain when is it to his benefit, when isn't it. So if it helps him out, fine. Otherwise, not. Amar Leisur of Shesh's response. No, it doesn't work. Lav Amras Hasam. Just like you mentioned to me a couple of days ago. When you sell the Evet, it says, right? He robbed the bank. He has no money to pay back. V'nimka b'gnei v'aseh. And we learned over there. Nimkar kulev lechetzi. Suppose he robbed, $500,000, and he's worth $1 million. We can't go and sell him just, for 3 years. A halfway sale. No, there's no half-term sales. Nimkar kulev lechetzi. You can't do a half a sale. And I'm here as well when it says geula. Bailing out the Evet has to be a full redemption. If you have available funds to be goyal the entire Evet, fine. But it doesn't work halfway. And the Gemara is focusing on the Evet who was sold to a guy specifically because that's where it says Lashon Geula regarding an Evet Ivri sold to Yisrael. There's a whole different discussion discussed in the Rishonim. Amar Abaye, we speak about the half redemption. And we spoke about the fact that sometimes it can help him, sometimes it can be to his detriment. Says Abaye like this: Amar Abaye, if you shall suggest that, you can do a halfway geula, sometimes it can help him, and sometimes actually it can act to his detriment. It can work against the Evet. How? Here is lakula. In this case, it's going to be to his benefit that the partial redemption actually takes effect. Here's the case. Zavni b'meya. Purchase price was 100. Okay, you bought him for 100. Yavli chamshin. Okay, 10 minutes later, the Evet turns around and says, here, take 50. Palga did May, right? Half of his value. So it's a partial redemption. V'ashbach. 10 minutes later, he goes up in price. And he jumps from 100 to 200. V'kam al masan. So the initial sale price was 100. Current value, 200. The Evet had already given back 50. So now he wants to go free. How much does he pay? It depends. If the 50 that he gave him took effect, you can do geula l'chatzoin. So 50 at that point was half his value. So he's half free. Or I should say, he can cut his term into 2. Cut short from 6-year to 3-year term. Or instead of going out at Yovel, it's talking about he sold to a guy. So he's going to stay till Yovel. So by being goyal l'chatzoin, he can leave, at the halfway point, whatever it is. So the geula takes effect, if that's true. So he's half free. So now when his value he jumped up to 200. So he only has to redeem half of himself. Half of 200 is 100. Yoiv may have an affix. So he gives him 100 and he's free. For a total of 150, right? That's because the 50 that he gave him for that partial geula took effect. Accomplished a partial geula, which made him half free, which only obligates him to give for the other half, which is now a half of 200. So it's 100 plus the first 50, 150. But if the first 50 that he gave him does not take effect, there's no geula l'chatzoin. So it's like, just gave it to him as a deposit. It's for safekeeping. There was no geula that actually takes place. So now, he jumped up in value. He's worth 200. How much does he have to give him? He has to give him 200 to go fully free. So he combines the 50 they gave him with adds another 150. He has to add another 150 enough. Again, now he goes free. So sometimes the geula l'chatzoin can help him. Sometimes, in this case, it can actually help him, right? And soon the Gemara will bring a case where it actually hurts him. 1 second, said the Gemara, why? Va'amris, haven't you just told me a minute ago that it always works to his benefit in terms of, the fluctuating values? That's always on his side. Nisra be'kaspa, mekasa meknasai. Right? If his value shoots up, then we just look at the old value, the purchase price. We never focus on current value. That was the whole sugya we had before. So how can that factor play a role here? Well, going to oiker v'zol v'oiker. We're speaking about a very strange case. The initial sale price was 200. Then he went down in value to 100. And then he shot back up to 200. So let's break it down, step by step. He paid 200. And then he went down to 100. At that point, the Eved turned around and gave him 50 for half his value. And then he went back up to 200. So, if the 50 that he gave him did not take effect, because a partial geula is worthless, so he didn't do anything yet in terms of bailing himself out. So how much does he have to give him? 200. Well, you asked me, fluctuating value is meant to work to his benefit. Yeah, because here, the current value, which is 200, corresponds, it matches perfectly with the original sale price. There was a dip in between. He was 200, down to 100, and back up. So the master is fully entitled to the 200. Because although it's the current value, which is higher than the previous value, but it still corresponds to the original sale price, which is Mekasem Meknasei. Just because there's a dip in the middle, the master won't lose because of that. Okay, so in this case, the fact that his Pidyon L'chatzoin works, if it works, so that saved the Eved some money. What about L'chumra? Let's twist around this facts. Give me a case where a partial redemption works to his detriment, makes it more difficult for the Eved. Like this. Zavni v'masan, he bought him for 200. Yoav Meya, the Eved gave him 100 for half of his value. Palgadid May, right, half the value, half the purchase price. The Ichsef. Then the Eved went down. He sunk in value. V'kamal Meya, he's worth 100. And now he wants to go free. He wants to fully bail himself out. How much does he need to give his master? How much does he have to add? He already gave him 100, right? If the original 100 which he gave takes effect, accomplishes a partial gula, so how much does he give him? So at that point he was worth 200. So the 100 that he gave him freed him halfway. So he's half free. Now he went down and he's only worth 100, but he's still half unfreed. Half of 100 is 50. You have the Chamshiv enough. He gives him another 50 and he leaves. Total of 150. That's because the original 100 worked. But if there's no Gula L'chatzoin, so the 100 that he gave him just like Pikadin for safekeeping. There was no, it didn't trigger any partial release. So right now he's worth how much? We said he's worth only 100. That's all he has to give him. He's basically starting from scratch. So he takes that same 100 and says, look, hey, the 100 I gave you, hold on to it, have a nice day, I'm leaving. So we see that in some cases, Gula L'chatzoin helps the Eved. In some cases it doesn't. Here comes another question. When one sells a home in a walled city in Eretz Yisrael, so you can go back and sort of buy back his house. Torah gives him a year to do that. Question: can he redeem only half the house or not? Shall we say gulasai mistei achuza gamar? We make that same link as before. We connect gulasai over here to gulasai by the istei achuza, where he sold his estate, and we say mas de achuza eina negelas lachatzon. Just like over there, you can't do halfway. Af hainami eina lachatzon here as well. Or you can say no. Heicha de gali gali. By istei achuza, pasuk says. Matzah kadei gulasai. Rashi brings he obtained funds to fully redeem his field. So Hecha de Gali, where the Torah clearly articulates it has to be a full redemption. Gali, okay, it's clear. Hecha de Gali, but over here it's not clear. Torah did not instruct as such, so who says you're limited by that stipulation? Amar lei, so Rav Sheshes response. Mimed Rashi Shel Rabbi Shimon, based on Rabbi Shimon's presentation, Nishma, we can conclude, Shel Loive v'goyel l'chatzoin, then not only can he do a halfway redemption, but let's say he can't afford it. He can borrow the money, even if it's not his own funds, he can borrow it and do geula. This time. Im goyel yigal. Here's a pasuk which speaks about a fellow who was magdish his field. He gave it away to Hekdesh. He wants to redeem it, take it back. There's an extra expression. Im goyel yigal. All forms of redemption work. Malamet loive v'goyel l'chatzoin. He can borrow the money for geula. He can do a halfway geula. Am Reb Shimon matam. You know, Reb Shimon very often in Shas goes through the reason behind the halacha. Reb Shimon was dorish tama dekra. He expounded on the reason, on the svaris behind the halachas and built on them. So ma'atam. In fact, why? Why is it that the Torah makes that distinction? That when you sell a field, you can't do this, halfway redemption. But when you are magdish, you could. Why? Because we find that when a fellow sells his personal estate, he sells his field, the Torah empowers him. Very simple. When the Yevel comes, he gets it back. So since he has that added benefit, therefore the Torah makes it more difficult, restricts his ability to redeem it, because ultimately he's going to get it back. He can't borrow for gula, he can't do halfway gula. So it's sort of a fair equation, right? You're going to get it back anyway, so the Torah does not empower you and give you all these benefits. But Magdish, as opposed to a fellow who was Magdish his field, he's at a detriment. Suppose Yovel arrives without him having made a move, without him having redeemed his field, he loses it. Gets to the Kehanim. And therefore, the Torah gave him that added benefit, that he can, use all forms of geula, borrowing, partial. Okay. Now says Reb Shimon, we understand that a Magdish can do that, but not a Meicher. It's all about, the big picture. Hai Meicher Bayis, Bibate Orechema. Therefore, says the Gemara, when a person sells his field, so perhaps actually this is Reb Sheshes responding. That based on Reb Shimon, which we just learned now, we can conclude further regarding our question. Hai Meicher Bayis Bibate Orechema. A person sells his house in a walled city, Nami, here as well, will apply the same rationale. Since he's at a detriment, he's weak in a way that She'im Mala Loy Shana Tmim, as soon as that first year is up, V'loy Nigalan, nobody made a move, Nechlat, it is now absolutely owned by the buyer. Basically, there's no way to refund the sale. He has no power to go and redeem it. So he has a 1 year, deadline for that. Therefore, it makes sense that that we give him all types of privileges, all means of being goyal. You can borrow, you can do a partial geula. So that's the answer to your question. When you magdish a field, since you're going to lose it at Yovel, Torah allows you all forms of redemption. You sell your field, you're going to get it back at Yovel anyways. You're limited in your abilities to redeem. You can't do gula chatzoin. And when it comes to bayis, but since you're going to lose it after a year, unless you make a move, we allow you all types of privileges. Eisvei. So now Rav Huna Bar asked the kasha to Rav Sheshes from a brisa, which seems to indicate otherwise. Im go'al yigal. This is again that same pasuk by a person who was magdish his field. Go'al yigal, a repetitious expression. Malamet shalevi v'goyal, goyal chatzoin. You can be goyal by all means. Why does the Torah have to tell you this? Because otherwise I would say like this. The localfile would tell you otherwise. When when a person sells his field. Sheyafa koichai, you see, he has added privileges. Right? He doesn't lose it. He'll get it back. Shemigia yovel lo nigala. Suppose he didn't make a move, and yovel arrives, he gets it back. Chazeres labala v'yovel. Hura koichai. Still, we see that he doesn't have those powers. She'ein loiv v'goyel l'chatzayin. So basically, even though he has an advantage and he gets it back, still he loses this power. He doesn't have the added benefit, the added koyach, the added privilege, the added rights and ability to be loiv v'goyel l'chatzayin. Certainly, says the Brayso, magdish shehura koychai, when a person is magdish his field, where he's weaker in a way because he'll never get it back unless he makes a move. Yovel shows up and there was no gula, it's attributed to the Kehanim. So he has that against him. Ein adin, of course, we shall say, that he doesn't have the added privileges, he can't be goyel using all means. Well, says the Gemara, you can't compare. Perhaps we can explain why a meicher ste'achuzah cannot be goyel halfway, because he has another disadvantage. He can't redeem it right away. Torah says he has to leave it in the hands of the buyer for at least 2 years, right? So he has that against him. So perhaps that explains why he's weaker in a way. Magdish, as opposed to a person who's magdish, he has the ability to redeem it right away. He doesn't have to wait 2 years. So maybe he has the ability to be goyel l'chatzayin. Well, says the Gemara, I'll disprove this notion from the house in the Arichaima. He sells it, and what happens? Can he take it back right away? Of course. He can redeem it right away. In fact, he's limited to the first year. And still, despite the fact that he can do it right away, he can't be goyel using these other means. He can't borrow, he can't do a partial. So, in any case, that's the Brayso. And we see clearly from this Brayso that a meicher bayis bebotei rechaima cannot be goyel l'chatzayin. Well, says the Gemara, that's not a kasha to the previous Brayso. There are different shitas, like kasha. Ha Rabbanan va Rabbi Shimon. You know, Rabbi Shimon was the one who tells us that we have to look at the big picture. The Torah is protecting him and helping him. So, in the case of a magdish where he's about to lose it at yovel, we allow more forms of other, avenues of redemption. But not a meicher sadeh, where he's going to get it back in any case. And likewise by the bayis, where he's going to lose it after a year, we allow him all these other privileges as well. So basically, Shimon is tit for tat. He looks at the equation, and we have to sort of balance things out. That's Reb Shimon's approach to the whole topic. This Brayso, which indicated otherwise, it's the Rabbanan. Rabbanan say that in all these situations, except for magdish ste'achuzah, where there's a special pasuk that you could do gula chatzayin, otherwise, all these situations don't allow for a partial gula. Tani chada. So on Brayso it says loiv v'goyel chatzayin, that a person sells a bayis in a ir batei chayma. You can be loiv v'goyel, you can be goyel chatzayin. Tani idach, we have another Brayso which says you cannot. Ein loiv v'goyel chatzayin. The kasha, the answer is very simple. Depends who's speaking. Ha Rabban. Rabbanan say you can't. Rab Shimon says you could. Okay, we'll continue the Sugi B'ez Hashem tomorrow. Bottom line is, regarding Gula l'chatzayin, how do we define Gula? Is a partial Gula considered a Gula, or it's all or nothing? Full redemption, otherwise it's not, not going to work. So by the Eved we said, apparently you need a full Gula. Magdish, so the achuzah we say do not have to have a full geula. Meicher ste achuzah you do, and meicher bayis but erechayma it's machlekes of Shimon Rabbanan. And then we had the first part of the DAF, which discussed the begapa yave, begapa yetzi, two pshatim, and regarding the circumstances which bring about chas v'shalom financial difficulties, up to the point of becoming an eved ivri, even to the goy or to the Avodah Zarah, and the lesson of the psukim, the sort of the chain of events which highlight the point that a person should be cognizant, not allow himself to be dragged into rote, into lack of cognizance as to his circumstance. And we have Rav Huna's chiddush that Very important not to get habitualized and to keep handle on things. In any case, the Torah is still looking after the Eved Ivri despite everything. To treat him well. And in fact, when it comes to the Giroy and Kesef, the P'tiyah, we prorate the remaining, the balance, but it's based on the lower amount. So if there was some sort of fluctuation in terms of value, we always look at the lower amount, whether it's the sale price or the current value. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha.